Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening. This is John McDougall. I am the event coordinator here at Murder by the Book in Houston, and we're super excited for tonight's event with Alison Heller and Chandler Baker. But before I bring them out, I'll make some just general store announcement stuff, let you guys know what's going on with us. If you haven't tuned in a while, we've got some really great virtual stuff coming up. It's Friday, so that means we don't have anything tomorrow. And on Monday, Sarah DeVello is going to be talking with Ian Smith and Archer Mayer on our channel. Tuesday, we're super excited. We're going to be chatting with Val McDermott. She's going to be in conversation with Patricia Cornwell at 1 o'clock because Val's overseas. And then Tuesday night, we're going to be doing a release party for the best American mystery and suspense short stories of 2021. It's going to be hosted by the editors Alifair Burke and Steph Cha, and we've got Nikki Dolson, Alex Segura, and Laura Lippman all there for the conversation. So lots of great stuff coming up. I think for pretty much almost the rest of October, November, and December, we've got stuff almost nightly with a little bit of breaks for Christmas and Thanksgiving. So definitely make sure you check out murderbooks.com for the full roster of everything we've got coming up. We are going to continue doing only virtual stuff for the rest of the year with no in-store events planned. We're going to try to do some in-store stuff in 2022. Hopefully it'll work better than our attempts to do it in September. Also wanted to mention the store is open for browsing. So if you haven't come to see us in a while, please come visit us. We just got in a ton of new puzzles. If you don't have the brain space to read right now, but you still want to support the store. I know McKenna's about to order a bunch of shirts for the holidays. So lots of really cool stuff will be coming in. And I also wanted to mention we might be doing, fingers crossed, don't hold me to it though, one of our Murder by the Book recommends events in store for small business Saturday. So hopefully we'll have some more info about that soon. But tonight we're super excited for this event, so I'm going to get us started. I'm going to first bring out Chandler Baker. How are you tonight, Chandler?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for doing this with us.
Yeah, so fun.
So, oops, I changed web pages. Let me get your bio pulled back up here. Okay, so Chandler's newest release is The Husbands, and it just came out on August 3rd. So Chandler Baker lives in Austin with her husband and toddler, where she also works as a corporate attorney. She is the author of several young adult novels, and her adult debut, Whisper Network, was a New York Times bestseller and a Reese's Book Club Hello Sunshine pick. And we got to host Chandler in store for Whisper Network when it came out. So we're super excited to be chatting with her tonight. She's going to be leading our conversation. And we're also excited to have Alison Heller with us. Let me bring her up on the screen. How are you tonight, Alison?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. And
congratulations. Congratulations on the release of The Neighbor's Secret.
Thank you so much.
So it just came out on Tuesday.
Yep.
So Alison is a lawyer and author of contemporary women's fiction novels, The Never Never Sisters and The Love Wars. As I mentioned, The Neighbor's Secret is her newest release, and it's just come out. We've got both authors' books in store, so if you haven't ordered them yet, I've dropped a link in the chat where you can order those from us. If you have questions while they're chatting this evening for them about their new books, previous books, the writing process, any of that stuff, you can post those in the live chat on YouTube or the comments on Facebook, and we'll get to them in just a little bit. But for now, I'm going to turn this over to Chandler and let them get into it, and I will see you guys in just a little bit.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, well, as you know, since it's a Friday and this feels very festive, being your launch week, I encouraged a cocktail or a glass of wine because I feel like you deserve it. So I encourage anybody that's listening also to get a glass of wine to enjoy the conversation. And I just wanted to toast and say congratulations. I'm very happy for you and so glad that Neighbor's Secret is out in the world. So cheers and congratulations.
Cheers. Thank you so much. It was a good idea.
It always helps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a mocktail, whatever people are feeling today. So, okay. Well, first, because the Neighbor's Secret has gotten so much great buzz, I just had to share some of your accolades. You got a wonderful review in the New York Times. In it, they said, Heller gives us a dishy tale of nosy neighbors, mysterious vandalism, family shame, and murder. Heller places a ticking time bomb inside each character's house, and locating them is half the fun of this book. The other half comes from Heller's sense of humor, which is wicked without being unkind. That must have felt good to get.
It was like a pub day present.
Yes.
Yeah, it was great because it was early in the morning. It was so nice to read.
And Publishers Weekly aptly said that it was potential book club catnip, which I couldn't agree with more. And to quote myself, since I got to read this early, I said that The Neighbor's Secret is the rare thriller that actually leaves you feeling better about humanity. I called it an absolute crowd pleaser, which I really
love
think
that
it is.
quote. I love that blurb.
Yes, and I am so happy for it. I'm really happy that it was a Book of the Month Club pick. When did you find out it was going to be a Book of the Month Club pick?
I found out a few months before.
Okay.
And that it would be an advanced pick. And so that was really, really exciting and very difficult to keep to myself. But this is very exciting news. Yeah. So I was delighted because I have such respect for their choices. And so that it was really great to be in such great company. And also to have it go out in the world early. It felt there was something kind of nice about easing into it, so that was lovely. Yeah.
Did your editor call you? How did you find out?
My editor, it was a holiday weekend, and my editor, I think there was an email and then also a text to make sure that I checked my email.
Okay.
And I was, right there. I'm always excited to hear from my editor anyway. So,
right. Do you have like an obsession with your inbox like I do?
I do have it. Do you have an obsession with your inbox too?
I have a problem.
Yeah,
I mean, ever since I started writing, really, I'm like, I just never know when something exciting is going to pop in there.
I know. And there's a lot of the stuff that is really that is thrilling is somewhat unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why, some part of my mind is like, oh, well, if you hit refresh on your email 50 times a day,
yes,
then, maybe something will happen every few months, but I don't know. There's some like Pavlovian, I don't know what it is, but
absolutely. And if I don't respond to people right away, it's generally because I'm like trying to play it cool and like don't want to seem like I was just sitting at my inbox. But then the problem is then I just forget to respond. It's like immediately or never, but I like don't want to do the immediately.
That is, you know what? Just today, I created a folder on my email that said to respond for that very reason, because of the, like, if it's not now, it's never problem.
Yeah. Well, see, you're the one that's organized.
Right now, but that was just today.
Yeah. Okay. Well, congratulations on that new development in your life. I'm very excited for you.
Big week. It's been a very big week.
Yeah. Who can say what's a bigger deal? Okay. So I've heard the answer to this. Okay. I've heard that you are not in a book club. True or false?
True. I'm not.
Okay. What do we have to do to get you in a book club?
I know. Well, I think I'm going to cite your character, Nora, in The Husbands, because in your book, you do such a beautiful, beautiful job of showing, and her kids are little. She has one on the way, and she's a really little kid. My kids are older, but I just reading it, I felt like you summed up so beautifully kind of the competing demands, trying to do a bunch of different things on a bunch of different timelines and not being able to. And so I do feel like I definitely read books and discuss them with friends and my sister. And, I would say I'm not in a formal book club now, but I have several, I have mini book clubs, maybe sort of very intimate one-on-one literature discussions that sort of scratch the itch. Yeah. But just the time-wise now, sometimes I get very tired, like early at night. I was going to say late, but it's really kind of early. So I would say it's a scheduling issue for me at this moment. Are you in a book club?
I am in two.
What?
I feel like that is one too many, but nevertheless, I am in two. So
would it be hard to choose between them?
I have my long-standing book club that I've been in for about 9 years, and then my cul-de-sac started a book club, and so they're all my neighbors, and they all have kids around the same age. So
they read The Husbands?
No, I have a rule that we don't read my books in book club.
That's probably.
Yeah. Just I don't know what to do with my face when people are like talking about my book with me. So it's just better for all of us if I don't do that.
That makes sense.
I guess before like backtracking, I should have you do a quick elevator pitch of Neighbor Secret. So can you do it in 30 seconds?
So this is the thing.
less?
I realized in this process that I have the inability to summarize, which I think, this is not something I can do. So I'm going to try.
I am going to time you.
Okay. So it'd kind of be a long elevator ride. Maybe, we're in like Empire State Building or something. Okay. So The Neighbor Secret takes place in a suburban neighborhood in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, and it revolves around a book club and mainly 3 women. And when vandalism starts occurring in this neighborhood, which is otherwise very safe and pristine, the women get concerned and the tension sort of ratchets up and eventually results in one deadly night that unearths some secrets about an accident that happened in the neighborhood 15 years before. How is that? Is that like floor like 100 to
39 seconds?
All right.
That was really solid. That was good. I liked it.
Thank you.
Yes. So now people know we're going to do no spoilers for this.
Obviously, I know
it's very hard because there are so many secrets, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but that makes it hard to do no spoilers, but there will be no spoilers. So what made you want to set the book in a book club?
So I knew that because I was writing about an affluent neighborhood and middle-aged women and sort of middle-aged women who are trying to be perfect and all of this, it's ridiculous pressure and who overparent, and that there was going to be an element of satire. And I didn't just kind of want to stay in the snarky place. And for me, when I've been in book clubs or with my other novels, when I was visiting book clubs to discuss them, I think there is such a beautiful and special energy that happens in a book club. And I can see, which is probably why you're in 2. And there is, it's all the book clubs I've been in or have visited actually. No, there was a man in one. There was a man in one once, but exactly, like just even the fact that it's such an exception. Yeah. It is sort of, there is a special female or almost female camaraderie and kind of energy that sparked from discussing literature and ideas and commonality and life. And so I wanted to replicate that and have that sort of warmth and sisterhood along with sort of the more the snark as well.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that. My husband and some of the men from our like spouses in our book club, they wanted to start a movie club because they were so jealous of our time doing book club. And they they had one meeting and they were like, there were no snacks. There was no food. They're like, we didn't know what to do. And it never got scheduled again.
So great.
That sounds, did you think they were going to magically appear or? I think they did. Yeah. They did think it was going to magically appear.
Has it happened since?
No, they've never gotten it scheduled again. They're like, we want to have it, but we don't know how to schedule it or like
don't have the skills
about it. Yes. So sad day for them. But yeah, I mean, like food is such a big part of the Cottonwood Estates book club, and it's a big part of our book club. Yeah, I mean, now it reminds me so much of my own cul-de-sac book club at this like neighborhood. And I think our neighborhood at large actually does have a book club as well, but I am not joining that one. I'm gonna put my foot down.
Yeah, 2 is enough.
Yeah. But I love that. I mean, I love book club for exactly the reasons you said. I mean, I think it's just a great time to get together with my female friends and like, yes, we talk about each other's lives and what's going on and any sort of like venting and all that jazz. But also it's a time to like really talk about big ideas and like ethical issues and thematic things. And that can be such a nice break from talking about our regular lives. And it is very supportive and like women that I've just been doing life with for a while. So
exactly. And and it's not always in adult life. You don't always get that kind of camaraderie and that kind of group energy. That kind of relaxed group energy. So there's something very special about it, I think.
Yeah, exactly. In the book, Deb, one of your characters, sort of self-congratulates, and she says that readers are the gold standard of humanity. What do you think some of the benefits are of reading? Like, what makes that true to you?
Well, I do think I do agree with Deb, and I do think that I do think it is an exercise in empathy to open a book and to read someone else's perspective and live in their head for a while. So I think it definitely, when I have read, it has made me think differently about issues. It has opened my eyes to issues I hadn't thought about, or walks of life I would never have thought about, and so or have known. And so I think it is a connector, or can be an amazing connector, literature. So I think people who are choosing to connect and to read and to drop down in other people's experience, and a book is a big commitment. So especially now when there's so many other options that are kind of more instantly gratifying. So I think it says a lot about people who pick up a book and read.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I mean, I have a very like visceral reaction of reading Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell in my early 20s. And just like, even though I was already in my 20s, like just having sort of a light bulb moment that like not all kids, like problem children sometimes, or the children that were like dirtier in class or whatever.
Yes.
Like it wasn't their moral failing. Like it was probably that something was going on at home. Like they were struggling. And so I think it is a huge exercise in empathy.
That is, and I actually, it's so funny because I remember reading that book on a bus in Brooklyn. I think I had I was 30s. I think I had dropped my daughter off at pre-K and I was reading that book on and I just remember, that's such a beautiful story.
It is such a beautiful story. And I remember thinking like, okay, and I still think about it. I'm like, well, when my kids are young, but I'm like, I hope that I keep that in mind for talking with them about like having more empathy for other students in their class, and that I wasn't as aware of. So books are like that amazing sort of connective tissue that can give us sort of light bulb moments throughout our lives. Exactly. Do you have a favorite character?
And The Neighbor's Secret?
Yes.
I mean, Jen was the most fun to write. I mean, Janine was fun to write too, but sort of in a different way. Jen was really fun to write because she's sort of, her perspective was fun to write, if that makes any sense. And so I think I do have a soft spot for her because she is just kind of so filled with shame and and worry, and feels like she has to keep it all inside.
Can you talk a little bit about about her struggle without?
Yes. Okay. This is like the summary thing. Can I do it without a spoil? So, well, it's pretty early on. Jen is worried that her son has sociopathic tendencies, and she is worried that he is not going to be able to fit into society in life. And so throughout the book, she is kind of torn between, do I, is this who he really is? She's struggling with trying to determine if she agrees with the diagnosis he's been given. And then she's also struggling to figure out if how much of that she should divulge to the people around him without unfairly label him. Will that make her culpable in some sort of crime? What is he capable of? And so that it just weighs on her basically throughout the book.
Yeah. I found that so incredibly relatable. Not that, I'm worried about my kids having sociopathic tendencies, but just that you worry that you're being self-aware about your kids, that you can like properly analyze them. You worry that there are certain things that I'm worried that like my kids aren't particularly good at, and like, am I seeing it clearly? And constantly trying to assess that and truly be awake to those possibilities is such a relatable struggle.
Right. And when are you, what's the line between championing your child and loving them unconditionally, and also, kind of hoping that you raise and challenge them to, to sort of change and be good humans. And so Jen, that is something I feel like I think about a lot, and my friends who are parents think about a lot. And so poor Jen, it's like this really drastic thing, right? Where it's not like, oh, not so good at sharing, or, oh, tends to interrupt, or, whatever. It's like, oh, will he be okay in society?
Yes. And I will say that my favorite storyline to read, I think, was Jen's, because I just wanted to know so badly, like, how bad it was. Like the thriller part of my brain.
Like, was it like, what was there something? Is he capable of something?
Yes. Yes. I had to know. So that part was so well done. Is there a character whose parenting style you identify with the most?
That's a really good question, Chandler. I mean, they're all sort of extremes. I think Annie's maybe, well, Annie kind of goes through something too.
Yeah.
I would say Annie sort of starts hands off, more hands off, and then becomes increasingly involved. I would say, Chandler, that I don't want to admit to any of them being my
okay.
like either parenting role models or parenting exemplars, but I mean, I do think bits and pieces of all of them, obviously, I do relate to, and mainly the worry. But I was the warrior, as you can probably tell reading the book.
Well, hey, we all do that. As you said, Cottonwood it's very safe. I think we've both kind of written about these suburban settings. There's something that, attracts us to them. Do you think it's possible to have an entirely safe community?
No, absolutely not. No way. I don't. I think human nature is such, and what goes on behind closed doors is such, that I think it's just, there are going to be, there's no, I don't think there's I don't think it's possible. Do you think it's possible?
No, I don't think anywhere is safe, because everything, I mean, there's like statistics mean nothing on the individual level. And I feel like that's what it is. You just can't account for like the weirdness of humanity and the weirdness of individual people.
Exactly. And even in a place like Cottonwood, where, I mean, the characters that the book follows are well intentioned. These aren't people who are, trying to hurt others. Well, some of them are maybe, but but for the most part, there are a lot of people who are well intentioned, or a lot of characters who are well intentioned, and they, it's an impossibility. Even if you're trying so hard to do the right thing, there are consequences to the tiniest things. So, so I don't think it's possible, alas.
What do you think the most dangerous part about living in Cottonwood Estates is?
I would say it's either the false sense of security, or it is the pressure to kind of conform to this perfection, this expectation of perfection, and this notion that that life, or that being a parent is something that can be done perfectly. Because that's one of the reasons that I wrote this book, is I was like, as a parent, I care about doing a good job. This is something that it's supremely important to me. But the more I do it, the more I'm like, you cannot do a perfect job as a parent. You just can't. It's impossible. And so that is kind of one of the ideas that inspired the book. And so that, I don't think that relates to the question, right? What?
No, it does.
Relate to the question. I was like, I think
You're good.
I took what's left. But so I think that's what it was, with the expectation of perfection within the neighborhood. Like, like Janine's character, who was trying so hard to do everything perfectly and to do everything right. And I think that is very damaging. And I think there are a lot of, it's not just the internal trying to do it right and can't do it. It is also the external. And there are so many messages. I mean, I think toward people in general and women in general, and women specifically, this is how you should be doing things. If you're not meeting these standards, you're failing in some way.
Yeah.
Buy this thing to help you help you not fail. But so that I do think they are very enthralled to that idea in Cottonwood.
Yeah. I, like you say, all the people are really well-intentioned, which I agree with. Did you set, like, I feel like this kind of fits into something I've only seen from a few different writers. I feel like Leon Moriarty is one, Laura Davis recently one, but I feel like it's kind of like a feel-good thriller. Like, you get the thriller aspect out of it, but it's not like mean-spirited at all. Like, the characters are good people. Is that something you set out to write from the outset?
It's really funny because I think I did. I think I probably wanted that good feel. Like I said, how the reason why a book club came in at all was to kind of provide that feeling and that heart to the story. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. It's really interesting because the thing I'm working on now is a little darker.
Okay.
And I don't know if it will remain dark or if I'll sort of have, I'm curious. I'm kind of curious to see what happens.
Is this book a departure from your previous book?
Neighbor Secret? Yes, absolutely. This is my first suspense. And so this was the first one where there was a mystery, and I was deliberate about putting in a mystery. And so it is a departure, and it took me a very long time to sort of figure out how I could do the mystery and how I wanted to do the mystery.
Yeah. And were you just looking to make a change? Like, what was the initial spark of the idea, the book club, or like what was the genesis of the idea for the Neighbor Secret?
The genesis of the idea was kind of it was the notion of something, in being a parent, if you have your eye on this one ball, what else are you missing?
Yeah.
What are you not seeing? And if you're trying so hard to do everything perfectly, where are you failing and you don't even realize it? Because also what happens when you're a parent is that you realize you have reactions to things and buttons that are pushed that you didn't even know that you had. So it's all, so it was kind of grappling and thinking with all of this that made me want to kind of try and capture or harness some of that tension and write a book about characters struggling with these same tensions. So that's what it came up. But I love mysteries. I love a puzzle in a book. And so for me, it was kind of a challenge. Could I write something with a puzzle in it? I tend to be in real life, not very cagey. I tend to kind of blurt.
Me too. I'm very confessional.
As you might guess from talking to me. But so so it's not my natural, I'm not a very sleight of hand poker face person. So I considered it was a bit of a challenge to not be like, this is the story. So, but I so appreciate mysteries and like like the Whisper Network, I mean, like that was just it was like the twists and the turns and you don't know. I mean, I love that. Like you had me guessing up until the very, very end. So, and then there was a final, like, so I love that. And I wanted to see as a writer, because, when you're a writer and you read things that like get you excited, you're like, oh, can I do that?
Did you like writing it? Because I will say that I feel like the mystery aspect for me of writing mysteries is not my favorite part.
Right. Are the characters your favorite part?
Yes.
The satire, like
I like the social commentary a lot. Yes, that's what really sings to me, and I do love like knowing a couple twists, but the mystery part can often feel like math. Like I'm always like, oh, I know where I want to go, and that's fun, but I don't necessarily love like figuring out all the steps to get there, because that brings math to my brain.
Well, I have to tell you too, in The Husbands, you did tension so well. And I don't know, there were these, I had to put the book down at two points. Okay. I won't give spoilers either. One was Mother's Day.
Okay.
And the other, and I'm not like constantly having to put books down, because I mean, I picked it right back up. I just like, like this, it was like, okay, like that kind of pick. I wasn't like, can't do it. And the second was there is a tremendous scene in it that is actually, it's like one of the scariest things I've ever read. And I'm not going to say anything else about it, but you know what scene I mean, right?
Oh, do I? Oh.
Yeah, it's the scene. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
There's
that part was fun.
There's running to someone's house.
Yeah.
You know the scene. Anyway.
The most thrillery part of it. Yes, but like
it was truly frightening. Like well,
thank you. Like once I come up with it, it's fun to write, but like the breaking of story is the breaking of my brain.
I get tripped up on it too. This is what I will say. When stuff carts, I bet, because maybe you feel the same way. When things start to come together in the mystery, when I feel them, it is almost more fun than anything else.
Oh yes, it's the best.
When I get the draw out and the reveals and when to put them and how, and the misdirects, that is, you're right. It's very, if the rest of writing is very passion and hear the voice and like, that is very like stop and think and clear your mind. And
I think it's always just like you feel that you should be able, like if I just think about it hard enough,
right,
I will come up with the answer. And unfortunately, at least for me, it's a combination of I will think about it very hard, and then I have to walk away and pray that it comes to me.
And then it pops up.
Yes.
when you're doing something else.
Yes, but you have to do both. Like you have to spend time beating your head against the wall to have the moment where you walked away and it just pops up the answer.
Especially if, and because from your books, I know this is true, especially if you put a premium on something seeming, when I say realistic, I don't mean there aren't, there's no suspension of disbelief or it's something you've, but you want it to seem realistic emotionally.
Yeah.
Like I can tell that's important to you. And so that I think puts another level of pressure on, or just another degree of difficulty, right? Because not only does it have to thrill, but it has to thrill in a way that you recognize as a human being.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yes. Which makes me want to know, like, are you a plotter? Like, do you outline?
So this is what I do. So the two, my contemporary fiction books were just sit down and go, it was just like that. That's how I type.
Yeah. Flat hands.
Exactly. It takes me a while. So with this one, that was impossible because there are secrets that I had to embed and there was sleight of hand that I had to do and misdirection. So what I seem to be doing now, which I would not recommend, like no one's going to be asking me to write any how-tos, but I seem to kind of like get a very broad outline. Then I kind of do the like collapsing, those collapsible flashlights or like so I do a very broad outline. Then I like go and maybe I write a little part and then I write a little more and then I go back and I amend the very broad outline and then I go. So it's kind of like I outline, then I draft, then I switch the outline, then I draft, because there is something I've gotten where I can sort of do it when I outline, but there's something about the actual drafting that gets me into a character in the flow of a story in a way that just outlining cannot, at least yet. How about you? What do you do?
I think a collapsible flashlight is a very obscure metaphor.
Can you tell I went to camp in like the 80s?
I don't know if that one's going to catch on, but we'll take note of it.
Collapsible flashlight.
Everyone, that's how you draft. That's how writing works.
Think of a collapsible flashlight.
Yes. Everyone will totally be able to picture it. I respect it though. It's specific, and it's important to make specific choices for things to feel relatable.
The term collapsible flashlight.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I only, learn how to write the book that I just wrote. So it does kind of tend to change. Like for the husbands, I did not outline nearly enough. Although I also don't know that if I would have outlined more, if it would have helped. Like I kind of wrote a whole draft off of a very short outline. Mm-hmm. And then on a second draft, I started from a blank page again after I kind of knew what I was doing and started
to have that out. You had to get it out of your system.
I had to get it out there and then really work on what I wanted. And I still made a ton of wrong turns, trying out things that were bizarre, that did not end up in the book. This is, I feel like, it's not false praise. Like I sent my critique partner a copy of your book, and we both read it because I just said, like, this is such a good, like what I loved about it. And I said this to our editor, Christine, as well as I was drafting my newest book. I said, what I love about Alison's book is that, like the beginning has a lot of secrets. Like you have your big overarching sort of thing that you want to be revealed. There's like a big mystery, and there's this big mystery because, like you said, there's like a deadly night, and we want to know what happens, and we know that
we don't know what happens.
We don't know what happens, but you keep sort of teasing out all these smaller questions, like in Jen's storyline and Annie's and Alina's, and that like had me guessing the whole time. And every time you would answer one, or we think one would answer, you would like pick up another little question that took us a little further, until by the end, like I was just loving these like really short, zippy chapters that just helped us like pick up so much steam. And I was just like flying through them because you kept like ending on these really tantalizing little things.
Oh, this makes me so happy, Chandler.
Yeah. So I was so curious to like hear how much of that was mapped out. And now I know it's a collapsible flashlight.
Yeah, that's you just gotta refer to the old collapsible flashlight.
And I feel like I'll be able to replicate that now.
Right. It's so simple.
Yes. I feel like
you use one every day.
Yeah. I feel like I've learned a lot here. I love a thriller with a really satisfying ending. And this one had such a good ending.
Oh, I'm so glad you think so.
Yes. Like I was genuinely surprised, and I am a very good reader. Like I feel like I always know the ending off of like 2 chapters in. And that doesn't even necessarily hurt my enjoyment of a book. I'm very good at guessing endings. But I did not guess it, which I judge myself for, but it also made perfect sense. So at what point did you know how it was going to end?
So are you talking about, I'm going to call it the Jen Abe storyline? Mm-hmm. Are you talking about that storyline? I knew that from the get-go.
Okay.
And one of the things that was very challenging in writing this book, you can tell I'm doing spoilers,
yes.
is that you can't put a lot of tension where you want to put the tension.
Mm-hmm.
So there had to be other things going on for tension.
Yeah.
You know what?
Maybe that's your secret of small secrets, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So there had to be different tensions and your eye on different balls, like the character's eyes had to be on different balls, worrying about different things,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise that, that is how the book gets to where it's going. Because that was one of the very early things I had in mind, was how it ended that way. Yeah.
Do you feel like you always have to know how your books are going to end before you start them?
No,
No.
I don't. Although this is my first suspense mystery, so perhaps
So maybe you will need to.
New was a good thing. So I don't know, but I don't think you do. Do you think you do?
For the husbands, I knew the ending. Like I knew the last line before I started it.
You did? You knew last line?
Mm-hmm. I knew the last line.
First line. I read somewhere that Sarah Dessen, YA, the author.
I wish I knew her. I've met her before. I don't think she would know me.
No, her. No, but she says that. Did you ever read? She says she does. She writes the first line and then the last line, and then like thinks of a scene in the middle. So that's her collapsible flashlight.
Okay.
That's what. So I was wondering.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't usually know the first. At least not in a way that will stick.
Right.
I feel like that has definitely changed for me a lot. How old are your kids?
My kids are 14 and 12.
Okay. Did you start writing before you had kids?
Like writing, with my hands like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind.
I actually started when they were really little. I wrote my first book when they were 1 and 3, something like that. And so I did it because I was practicing law and I did okay, but I sort of felt creatively unfulfilled. And actually my father was sick and wasn't well. And I think that probably triggered some kind of, life evaluation. And so in the calmness that was that time, I decided it'd be a good idea to just sit down and start, try and write a book. But so that's when I did it. So they were younger.
I mean, I feel like I have a sense of the answer, but do you feel like motherhood influences you as a writer? Or
no, not at all.
Not at all. You're good.
Definitely. I mean, only because it is, to me, it's such a profound experience. And just in that it is, very important, very it just kind of unearths emotions that, a depth of emotions that is surprising, but not surprising, would make so much sense. And so just because writing is always exploring that side of things, I think there's so much material, and not just about loving for and caring for your kids, but all of the sort of stuff that goes along with it, like with you and the husbands, all of this. Okay, it's obviously Nora loves her kids, but there are all these other effects to raising them and having them and living her life, and these changes that she sort of, how can you prepare yourself for them until they're actually there? So all of that attendant stuff I find very interesting.
Yeah. Are you okay with that? Like I totally agree. And I think it does unearth a lot of things, but there have been times where I'm kind of like, I push against it. And I don't know. I don't want to, I don't know. I have something weird. I'm I don't want it to have affected me as a creative.
Right. Oh, you want to say, no, I would be asking these questions. Well, I think you probably, did you write before kids? You did, right? You
did. Yeah.
Did.
Yes.
Well,
I think it comes from maybe that question that women get. Well, there's one that there's the pram in the hallway is whatever bad for creativity. Right. And then the other that when you're working, everyone, and you're a woman, a lot of people are oh, are you going to come back to work after
Right.
after you have kids and you want to kind of say back to them, of course, nothing will change. And
Right.
so I think I've like carried that over, even though I write about motherhood a lot. And but I don't know, there's some pushback there in my mind.
Right. This notion of it's sort of in maybe I'm not going soft, or my output's not going to reduce, or not only going to be able to think or talk about my babies, or right, like that.
Yeah, even though I think like the great American novel should be about motherhood, you know,
Yeah.
I think it is an incredibly important and valid experience.
Yeah. And I mean, the way I see it, it's more like a life experience. And it's just one more life experience. Like, I also, when I was a lawyer, that was very, that was profound too for me. And working at some of these law firms was a very profound experience. And I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
How is this a culture? You know, this is not okay. But so that was also profound. And also, I think, provided grist for the mill. So I sort of look at it as it is just one more kind of descent into the human experience that, you know, that kind of then shakes loose these thoughts and these feelings.
Yeah.
But I totally see what you're saying. And I think it is maybe a very lawyer, you know, sort of law firm, lawyer trained.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. We're both former lawyers. Why do you think so many lawyers are aspiring novelists or actual novelists?
Well, I'll tell you my theory, and then you can tell me yours. But my theory only applies to it's for me. It's because this is what happened to me. Is I think I went to law school because I liked writing, and I didn't really like math, and I thought it would give me a lot of professional opportunities because I thought you could do anything with a law degree. And I also really like stories. And I thought by going to law school, I would be exposed to a lot of stories and be involved in stories and helping people with their stories and writing injustice stories and all of those types of things. And so I think law is a lot less about stories than I thought it was, at least with my experience. I mean, I think law is, it's a great profession, and it is a mentally challenging profession, you know, because it is, you're making arguments, you're looking at, I mean, there it's amazing, but it wasn't, I think it didn't satisfy the part of me that was naive when I went there. And, you know, I think, I suspect that a lot of our fellow former lawyer novelists maybe have a similar relationship with narrative and the written word, and kind of started writing because they were like, oh no, I want to be able to control the narrative. I want to be able to, you know, immerse myself in it in a way that makes sense to me or is creatively fulfilling. What do you think?
I mean, I think my nice answer is that lawyers are readers. Like, a lot of lawyers tend to be very verbal, very fast readers, pretty good writers, and you're kind of going along like the responsible track going to law school. And my other side is, I think a lot of lawyers want an exit plan once they're in it. And writing books is fun, but yeah, like you, I wanted a job where I would get to think every day. And being a novelist also scratches that itch in spades. Sometimes too much thinking. But yeah, I definitely think it makes sense that it dovetails. Our other similarity is that we both have the same audiobook narrator, Alison Ryan, who I loved. She did such a great job on both books. And I feel like I get so many compliments on the audiobook. So did you have a hand in picking Alison?
Yes, I did. And I was
Me too.
Yes, you did too?
Yeah.
And I have to confess, I've heard snippets, but I just received the audiobook this week, and I haven't listened to it yet because this week's been a little overstuffed. And so, but I'm so excited to hear the entire thing. But people have contacted me to tell me how great her voice is and how, I mean, she's amazing, isn't she?
Yes. Well, I will confess, I have not listened to my entire audiobook because it's still, even though it's not my voice, it's just hard to listen.
Would you think that'd be difficult to, yeah.
Yeah. I still think it's a little bit like listening to yourself on voicemail territory. But I listened to parts of it, and I found Alison through listening to her narrate Fleischman is in Trouble. And I just loved her narration of that so much. So she had been on my mind. So.
Oh, right. Because you do your books on audio.
Oh yes. I listen to tons of audiobooks. So I know how important a good narrator is.
Oh, so you found her. She was presented to me.
Okay. Well, and maybe that's why.
I bet maybe. Oh, that's fabulous. That's so good. Good job.
Yeah, thank you. I give myself credit. Okay, well, we're about to have to open it up to questions, but I do just want to ask, what are you working on next? What can you tell us, if anything?
I'm working on something that is loosely based on the Count of Monte Cristo.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
And so I don't want to say too much because I know it's really going to change. Like, it's early days and I know it's really, really going to change.
Okay.
But it is basically a kind of cat and mouse bullying at a boarding school situation. Okay. And then there's revenge enacted later in life.
Okay.
So that's what I'm working on. What are you working on now? You're working on a lot.
Yeah, my daily thing that I'm working on each day right now is the script for The Husbands.
I know. Tell them what's happening with it. Yes.
Yeah, I'm working on the script to start Kristen Wiig.
And who's going to be in it?
Yeah. Start Kristen Wiig for MGM. So that's like kind of my big project right now. But I turned in a draft of hopefully what will be my third book to our editor a few weeks ago. So
can you tell me what it's just like your elevator? Like, what's it about?
It's about like some preschoolers get a weird medical condition and their teacher is killed and the only witnesses and suspects are 10 4-year-olds.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Oh, I love it.
We'll see. It's a little early to say brilliant. So
no,
we'll find out if it's anything.
That's great.
But, yeah, so it's nice to be busy. Okay, perfect timing.
Yeah. So before we get into questions, Chandler, you have been so kind to lead this and you've done it like a pro tonight. Can you give everybody your elevator pitch for The Husbands?
Oh, sure. Gosh, see, I don't even know if I can do it in 30 seconds. The Husbands is a novel that asks how far will a woman go for a little more help from her husband. There it is. It follows Nora Spangler, who's an overworked mother and lawyer, and she goes house hunting with her husband in a nice suburban neighborhood, and she meets a group of high-powered women with enviably supportive husbands, and she is asked to help with the community residents' wrongful death suit, and as the case unravels, she uncovers the plot that may explain the secret to having it all, and it could be one that's worth killing for.
That was good.
That's great.
That was so good.
Thank you.
You've got the summarizing skill.
I've had a minute.
Yeah. It's always never fair to ask the person the day of their launch and they haven't developed.
I know. Yeah, you need it like over and over again.
That's what happened to me at my launch, and I just sort of babbled through. I don't know what I
part of it.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel better, it's the same for us booksellers too. Like the first couple of times, like we're trying to hand sell a book to a person, like it takes a little bit to figure out like those really important nuggets that are going to be like, yes. And you're not like, oh my gosh, why are you still talking about this? So we do it too. So that helps.
It's about a guy.
So Chandler actually covered a lot of bases that people were asking about. Like you talked about audiobook narrators, but Angela wants to know, was there anything that you had to unlearn from legal writing to write fiction? Let's start with Alison.
Oh, that's a really good question. Unlearn, maybe I wasn't a good enough, or maybe it hadn't sunk into my bones enough legal writing that I had to unlearn anything. Maybe it was good I took the exit plan when I did, but I will say in legal right, I mean, there is something so freeing about, like I can start a sentence with "and." I can have these sometimes fragments work beautifully and kind of just create the mood that you want, a kind of more staccato mood. So I will say it is incredibly freeing to kind of have this. You can write however you want. You can structure the sentences. You can pick your point of view, which point of view you're going to do, which is actually sometimes very stressful and another thing to think about or to consider. But that's, so I really enjoy that kind of breaking the rules a little bit as opposed to legal writing. How about you, Chandler?
What kind of lawyer were you?
I started out doing corporate healthcare and then corporate litigation. And then I did matrimonial, for a while, matrimonial litigation, which was not a good fit for me. And then I moved to matrimonial mediation.
Okay.
And that was that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Stomach.
See, I just did contract negotiations like the whole time, which there's not a lot of room to play in the writing. So I didn't really have to like unlearn anything, but I guess if it taught me anything, it was really that because I was doing it long enough at such a high volume, it was really just the substance that matters. And as long as the point is there and clear, there's no like magic to how you get there in the language. And I find that very helpful.
Yeah.
So Tracy wants to know, for either of you, if somebody's new to you, what book would you recommend them start with? How about you, Chandler?
The Husbands. Either Whisper Network or The Husbands, but The Husbands just came out and it's near and dear to my heart.
And they're standalones, right? So you don't have to have read
them.
They
are standalones, don't need to have read them. So I think it's a lot of fun.
I think they should do both.
Yeah.
Both.
I mean, why not, right?
Get the book. And for me, it would definitely be The Neighbor's Secret. Definitely.
Okay, so last question, I think, before we head out for the night. My disclaimer is you're not allowed to say each other's books because we've established that you're already fans of each other. What is something that you've read lately that you've loved? Let's start with Alison this time.
Okay. Oh, this is just because it's in my mind, but the Bass Rock by Evie Wilde.
Ooh.
Well, my disclaimer is it has a lot of violence against women.
Okay.
But it's amazing. It's okay.
And mine is The Plot by Jean Hanna Corlitz.
I have to read that.
Oh, it's so fun it's fun for non-writers, but I think it's really fun for writers.
Yeah, I haven't read that one yet either, but customers have absolutely loved it, and I keep hearing good things about it. So for those of you who are watching, I just dropped links to both of those in the chats. So if you're interested in checking those out, you can do that. As I mentioned too, I dropped a link to the Murder by the Book website where you can order Alison and Chandler's books, either their most recent or previous books from us. If you joined us late, we have been chatting with Chandler Baker, whose most recent release is The Husbands, which came out in August. And we've been chatting with Alison Heller, whose book, The Neighbor's Secret, just came out on Tuesday. If you missed any part of our chat, once we are done, Facebook and YouTube will archive them. Sometimes YouTube takes just a little bit longer to get it up there, but you'll be able to rewatch from the beginning. And while you were there, I hope you will scroll around and check out all of the other great virtual events that we have done. Alison and Chandler, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. And Chandler, thank you so much it was so much fun to talk to you. I can't even tell. It was so great. You were such a great host.
Oh, well, thank you. This was a really fun way to spend a Friday night.
Yeah. And I will say, Chandler, you said beforehand that you had not done one of these virtually leading like a pro.
Thank you guys.
All the bases, totally like a pro. You nailed it.
We're going to get you a TV show.
I do it all for like gold stars. So that's very important to me to get my validation. Thank you.
Y'all have a good night. Take care. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.